This is Race Hobbs, head of programming over at the UNX Network, and I want to thank you for listening to my good friend, Jeff Kingsbury, on Strange Recon, right here on the X.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
You know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this.
Sign my name on the dotted line.
Sign my name on the dotted line.
All I do is a double time.
All I do is a double time.
Oh, I can't believe you've done this.
Get ready for a surprise.
What's going on, Recon? I hope you're well. I hope you're well out there in the weird, wide world on this tarantula-shaped planet. Everyone on the UNX Network, thank you so much for being here. If you don't know, if this is your first time hearing or seeing me, this person in front of you is Jeff Whitebear Kingsbury, or Kitchener Leslie, for some reason it says at the bottom of the screen. This is a show about the paranormal and a show about ufology and all the weird technologies that are linked to the topic, and drones, unfortunately, are one of them. And we're here at it again, talking about drones. We're droning on. Imagine a USO tour for soldiers in the future where the comedians show up and instead of performing for a bunch of mindless soldiers they thought were drones, they show up there's just a bunch of actual drones in the audience. All right, that's enough of that. That's stupid. But we're going to talk about what's going on in the world, which was specifically the UFO story for the last 5 years or so. We tried to tell you. I hate to be that guy and say I told you so, but they got us again, Recon. They got it. The intelligence community got us again. Race, hit that button. When we get back, we'll talk about drones. Welcome, Strange Recon.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
You're out of your mind.
It is nothing more than a weather observation balloon. Of course, which we both knew differently.
No, I saw that. I don't give a goddamn what anybody else says about it. I saw that on film. Phil clasped and kissed my ass. He wasn't there. I was.
When you know all the names in every language of that bird, you know nothing, but absolutely nothing about the bird.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
All right, my friends and weirdos. Sorry for the squeaky arm. I hope you're well out there in the weird wide world. I hope you are so well. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast. I don't know where you're at, but that's where it is in the right time. It is 11/2/2022. It's getting cold out there. What am I talking about? It was cold yesterday, but today it was darn near tropical. I heard birds that I'm pretty sure only exist in the land before time. But yeah, it's weird. It's like weird weather here in the Bridgewater Triangle. And you know that Bridgewater Triangle that everyone loves to say is so haunted and so weird? Well, right now it's weird west weather. Oh, weird weather, excuse me. Anyways, moving on. Before I get going about drones, as you know, one of my favorite topics, something that we should be talking about all the time when it comes to ufology, because, well, they've been around for a long, long time. Drones are not new. To the person on Twitter who said, quote, drones are 10 years old, quote, so why are we talking about them? Because people like you think that drones are 10 years old. And in fact, they were very high class, specific, high grade technology, low signature, very strange and foreign and exotic looking. But before we talk about that, we're going to talk a little weird New England real fast. How about a lady in white encounter? You all heard of cases like Mr. Chris Bledsoe down in North Carolina, who claims that a lady in white appeared and gave him some sort of biblical-like message, though some people say it wasn't biblical at all. She was demonic. No, but anyways, and she tells him to worship and all this other stuff, so that's what he does. For many others, it's caused religions. There's a person down in I think, Guatemala, I think, that had an experience that built a church there after seeing a white woman walk up, and he was very specific. No, this is a white lady for some reason. The Lady of Fatima, so I think you've heard of that. Lady of Fatima experience in Portugal. Many people saw that. At one point, 70,000 people saw something, not the woman in white, but saw something happen while the children were witnessing it. You got to get into the case if you're not aware of it. But we have another one right here in the backyard of all this greatness, paranormal New England. Pepperell, Massachusetts. Pepperell, Massachusetts is the site of a man named Mr. Noel Dube. Dube? Is that his last name? I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong. Maybe it's Dube. D-U-B-E. It doesn't sound any better. Dube. Sorry out there for all your listeners with the last name Dube. I find it suspicious. That's not a last name. We should look into these people. Anyways, Mr. Noel Dube was divinely inspired by a lady in white encounter. Very perplexing one. She shows up. A message appears in her head. Tells him to build a shrine. Well, he only owns this little bit of property. He's not a wealthy man. So what does he do? Well, he turns his entire property into a giant shrine for this weird alien thing. I'm not sure. I say alien now for all you Christians out there. Maybe it's what you think it is. But for the people that experience it, they do end up eventually saying that they kind of feel like it was projecting an image that they would know or be familiar with. And this guy really isn't that different. That's allegedly what he said. But the only property he owned was his house at 47 Heald Street in Pepperell, Massachusetts. So if you'd like to go see this place, it's turned into a shrine. It's got all types of crazy stuff there. Lots and lots of paintings of Jesus Christ and stuff. And the white woman that visited him, who he is assuming is Mother Mary. Weird New England. Anyways, there's that one little bit of weird New England for you. Dope Nose in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, pal. I appreciate it. I hope everyone from YouTube comes, from Recon audience during our daytime show comes over and hangs out with us here over at the NX Network. Remember, please do me a massive favor. Tell your friends. Oh, I was eating a Snickers. I got it in my teeth. Sorry. Tell your friends. Head over to www.unxnetwork.com. Click that live player. Go find a show that you like. Download them. Listen, rate, and review. If you don't like it, don't try to rip anyone's guts out, weirdos. Just move on. Find a different show you like. Anyways, tell the good people the word, www.unxnetwork.com. Or, of course, tell them about the YouTube. We're building up the YouTube over here. Every one of you that listens to Recon and watches Recon, or you're part of the team over here, you have the capability of taking the show and sharing it. Oh, I don't want my friends and family to know that I have things that I like too. I don't want everyone to know that I'm into weird stuff that's really cool and interesting instead of just, I don't know, putting live, light, pray, walks on the wall from Home Goods. Never mind. Okay. Anyways, do us a massive favor and share the YouTube channel. That'd be great. Let's get this thing going. What do we always say over at Recon? If you know us, you know that you're going to hear a little repeat information. It's that when new technologies are achieved, or sometimes not even new technologies, just innovative takes on old technologies, repurposed engineerings, new material sciences, mergings of two companies that simply had two proprietary things that were never going to meet up. When that happens, weird things goes on. There are things in the sky, technologies used on the battlefield or in business or whatever business. I mean, in the corporate world. And they just seem so foreign and exotic and basically alien to us. I propose to you that something like the Tic Tac, or if it's not an electronic countermeasure, and it in fact did fly around like exactly was being claimed, even though we have to really question that, folks. As a soldier, or a veteran rather, a former combat soldier, I can tell you that it would be our duty to uphold a secret like that. Are you kidding me? If your government came to you while you were leading a squadron and said, hey, we need you to tell people that it did this, it blah, 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 it wasn't a weapon system test. You know what? But I think people tell the truth, and the truth finally comes out. And I hope that's not just me being biased, but remember what Alex Dietrich said, Commander David Fravor's wing woman, if that's what it's called, I don't know, from the Nimitz incident, who said her first interpretation of the entire thing was she was mad because they flew her right directly into a weapons test. And what do you know? It happened over St. Nicholas Island test area. The whole entire area is for like a ICBM test site and stuff. That's weird. But we're talking about drones. So if it did fly like that, could it be some human technology? Is there a breadcrumb trail that leads us there? Why are drones so darn important to the skeptic? It's because the evidence, and I hate to repeat this again for the Recon people from our YouTube or my channel, is that if the caseloads that are shown, that are used to reflect this increased incursion storyline that has been pitched to you since 2016, 17, is legitimate and true, then how come when all the paperwork finally came out, we got to see awesome photographs of what the deadly UAP looked like? You know, those scary ones that were chasing and haunting and hurting our Navy service members. We got to see them in photographs because the DIA took pictures of them and put them on a website. Remember that? So when we got to see those, we started seeing the real story was, oh, if you step back and see that electronic propulsion and drones are basically taking over every industry and everything in the world, there's a reason why they're being used against our military today, and a reason why they're being used to cover up in some sort of information op. And I'll get into that in a second. That was a little unclear there, but here, quickly for a second, take a look at here at the scary UAP. Remember, this is straight off of our government's website. The scary UAP that was chasing and haunting and stalking our Navy. Okay, get ready for it, folks. If you could, Race, could you share that? This is the scary unidentified aerial phenomenon that was one of them that was swarming our Navy. Straight off the government's website. Unclassified. DIA website. Now, doesn't that look like a freaking bulbous-headed, melon-head, shrunken gray attack vehicle from the Venetian Quadrisector 7? No. That was a little pretentious. I didn't mean to be a jerk there. But, I mean, this is what people are talking about when we say that you have to wait for things how they truly are versus how they appear to be. And when the intelligence community members see an opportunity, don't ask me what for, all right? I'm just making the observations on the anecdotes, yada, 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 and commenting on that. It's clear whenever there is a moment in time for the advantageous intelligence community members still working one way or another, they'll go after it. An email from Lou Elizondo shows that the entire time his efforts seem to be a way to raise awareness because the upcoming epidemic, I guess you could say, of drones is going to be insane. We're talking millions in the sky, ones that can be weaponized and turned against us. And I've been saying it on my show a lot lately. Guess what, folks? An 8-foot tall or 7-foot tall chain link fence with a bunch of whack-a-nut guys that are all retired cops and soldiers with bad backs and their knees hurt are not going to be able to stop 80 drones from coming into like a nuclear power plant. You understand? I've been pretty upset and critical over Mr. Elizondo, and I've lost some friends over it, and which is weird because none of this really should have came down to being friends with anyone or not. That's the thing that it was kind of ridiculous, and that people would be like, I'm friends with this person. He's always been nice to me. I talked to his wife. It's like, congratulations. I look at the evidence. And when speaking of looking at the evidence, there's specific thing I want to show you here real quick because I want to read it together. Okay. I want to read it together with you when we're talking about drones. So everyone knows this just isn't my opinion. When I say disclosure, hey, you know who else says this? Eric Davis, Dr. Eric Davis. If you like that guy, he says it too. Hold on. Here we go. Ready? Hold on. Boom. That's it right there, Race. If you could pull that up, Mr. Elizondo emails to the Pentagon to ask them, but to tell them what's up. Let's look down here. It's a FOIA release from John Greenwald of the Black Vault. We can read both, but you've heard this one before. But anyways, we'll read them all together. Ready? Strategic issue for all the people on the audio side who can't see. I apologize about that. I'm not even thinking. Unmanned aerial vehicles, as in balloons, commercial UAVs, private drones such as quadcopters, etc. That's it. Ready? Continue to pose a potential threat to DoD facilities, equipment, and location. Army, Navy, and Air Force have all acknowledged the potential threat by UAS to DoD equities, but no single unclassified repository exists to share this information across all stakeholders. Purpose. Our collective purpose is to eventually establish an unclassified database or community of interest of related signature data to be accessible by stakeholders such as DIA, the Navy, the defense industry partners, and perhaps even state and local tribal authorities to catalog and identify specific UAS threats to national security or DoD equities. But by creating a virtual library to catalog and analyze each event, our hope will be to better understand the capabilities and ultimately the vulnerabilities of these systems. That would be the proverbial mic drop, since I actually can't drop this microphone. I said this on my show the other day, and I wanted to make sure I said it on the Onyx Network because I stand true to my word, and I have integrity for the topic, I would like to believe. And when John Greenwald released that email, you saw something take change. Thank you for the background chase race. Appreciate it. You saw something take change in a lot of people, and it's something I'm glad that I was helping talk about for a long time with Recon. Thank you, Lord Ludicrous, for being here, and everyone else. It's unfortunate, but the truth is the truth. And you know what? As much as I was upset at a person like Lou Elizondo and all the people that were like, he's my friend. He's my friend. We're friends. I don't like the way you're talking about my friend, Block. It's like, listen, I actually don't have a real problem with Lou. I've said a lot of critical things, and I've said them in ways that seem very emotional because I'm like, I talk like this. But guess what? The fact of the matter is that I suppose that some of these reasons they have lied to us, I can admit, and I can see it as a person that can look at multiple things and stand back and say they did it for an okay reason, I guess. They'll probably profit off their reason for lying, which isn't okay. But I will say this as well. If they capture aliens, as in some sort of spectral data or actually on camera or something, then great. But that's obviously not at all what was this about, clearly in his email, because I'll say it again, a chain link fence ain't going to stop a drone swarm, my friends, and you all know that. Bobby Broadway, Capsule, Lord Ludicrous, and Dope Nose. Thank you, everyone else, for being in the chat right now. We are we're streaming right here live on the Onyx Network YouTube page. Do me a massive favor, all. Share the YouTube channel if you get a chance. That would be great. And listen, rate, and review, all that good jazz. Thank you so much. Good jazz. I don't know what that even means. Recon, not to hate on all the stuff, because I still think the phenomena, unexplained science and anomalies, some of which could very well be alive, some of which could be very well just be high grade technology we can't see. I don't know, but I'm not declaring it that. I will say that a lot of stuff out there is still real, still unexplained, has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. And I know people right now are thinking, oh my God, dude, are you kidding me? Or are you telling me this painting from 1400 with something that looks like a flying saucer painted in the clouds? You're telling me that's a Chinese drone? No, I never said that. No one ever did. Please put your painting away. Stop bringing it with you everywhere, Carl. No. But the fact of the matter is that when we get specific, this disclosure movement in the sense of the intelligence community operators and their friends that run newspapers like Lib Times, Homefront News, Washington Examiner, a bunch of weird British ones that I wouldn't trust. Like how far can you throw a tractor? Because that's how far I would trust those guys. They would do or say anything. It's the whoa. Anyways, but and I've seen it. I've caught the blunt of it. They tried to tell me I wasn't even in the military. Idiots. But there is a bunch of there's a bunch of things out there that you got to look out for. The drone thing, I want to talk about something real quick because it's important. We're going to have a break at 25 minutes. So I want to bring this up because it's important. It's part of the story here. We talk about it all the time, but we're going to talk about it again. I'd like to bring you back in time in the Wayback Machine. Woo! What was the Wayne's World thing? I can't remember. It's clear to me that if we go back to the time of like Paul Benowitz, Mr. Paul Benowitz, businessman, oh my, I just did a weird pop. Mr. Paul Benowitz, in my opinion, is a perfect example of what you can do when you see the implications and you work with people like Bill Moore. So if you're not familiar with the story, which I'm sure you are, I'm going to give you a very paraphrased version. Race, if you'd like to stop in and talk about any of this with me, you can. I'd be more than happy to have you on with me here. But Paul Benowitz is essentially sees some strange lights land on a military base, and guess what? He records it and calls the military and tells them and helps them. See, this isn't the military pushing out operators and trying to gather stuff and try to figure out how to get people to like Lou's doing or Lou did. That was someone going to the military and complaining about seeing something on their base. And instead of figuring out like an information off, they took full advantage of it and basically told them that, yes, there were aliens and all that good jazz. But because we're talking about drones, I propose that all the people that looked at what he recorded and said that must be Alien 2 had no idea that if the guy was recording VTOL takeoff drones, electric vehicles in the early days. This is like the early days when the batteries had already been invented by car manufacturers like Honda and GMC had already figured out ways to make extremely light lithium batteries, which was the delay and the problem with electric vehicles because they'd already been invented 70 years earlier. But the batteries are so damn heavy, all they could be good for you is moving train cars and large trucks, and really novel, exotic, expensive versions of cars. But this gentleman, Paul Benowitz, I believe, sees these drones being flown at night because, again, vertical takeoff stuff has been around for a way longer than him. Drones have been around since the 1800s, and I will talk about the beginning of drones in a second, and most of you all know. But what happened with Mr. Benowitz? Race, that's the worst of all camouflage. I had to wear that for like the last 2 years of my career. That camouflage was whack. No, but the guy essentially records these drones, in my opinion, and he sends them to the Navy. Whatever. Let's look real quick at something I brought up on the show before, but the NX Network probably isn't aware. But just a little evidence of that. I'm not going to actually bring it up here, but I want to show you Hyde Park, Massachusetts, in a secret laboratory next to a Chinese food production warehouse. There was this little tiny warehouse, only like 40 feet by 60 feet. They developed in secret lithium-ion batteries that became extremely lightweight. The true story of lithium ion and the scientists that paid for it and where these Japanese guys came from, and how, if you think about in 1970 something, 78-ish, when they're developing these things, like car manufacturers trying to figure out new batteries, Paul Benowitz is now seeing these strange aircraft, right? The lithium battery is this small now. Lithium ions, they're in your phone, right? We have them in our phones. So this is the public's version all these years later. Well, they've had small batteries for a while, but that was then. We're talking that wave gap. Drones flying a lot earlier. I'm trying to bring this damn thing up, but it won't come up. I don't understand what's wrong with this thing. The untold story of lithium-ion batteries. I'm sorry for all my Onyx Recon team. We're gonna, once we catch up the Onyx Network, we'll then get on original episodes again here. I'm sorry about that, but the untold story of lithium-ion batteries and the roots in Boston. You can read it at thebostonglobe.com. Type in or look up Untold Story Lithium-Ion Battery Roots of Boston, and you'll see that the secret lab there, government-funded batteries being developed in a Chinese food warehouse. For real. And they were developing extremely lightweight batteries that were able to be put in these drones. And so let's just pause there for a second because we got to take a break here in a minute. Race, we're taking a break, are we not? I think we're on a break. We're not taking a break?
Do I have to come in and tell you?
I forget. I don't know. We're not taking a break.
You want me to host the show?
I don't know any of the rules.
Yeah, we can take a break real quick.
I don't need to.
Okay, don't.
Okay. I thought there was ads rolling or something at
no.
minutes. Okay, no one wants to put ads on this show. That's for damn sure.
Love you, bye.
Thank you. Anyways, so let's jump back real quick now that we know that lithium-ion batteries were becoming extremely lightweight and developed much earlier and faster than we realized. And now that we have this and lightweight batteries have kind of been all the rage now for, I don't know. I remember one time, and I won't say his name because he was at the time, he's retired now, but he was just think of an operator of operators of military units, like those guys, bearded, he shows up, not talking about special forces either. I'm talking about beyond that. He shows up and he had Blackberries before they were on the civilian market. And I was like, what the hell is that? And he was like, yeah, the unit gave them to us. So like he was, but essentially, let me just skip that because no one's going to give a goddamn about the batteries. But let's just go back real quick, real fast. Okay, since drones are not 10 years old, everyone loves that. I love repeating that sentence. Everyone hates me going over that. But we're just going to quickly jump to the true history of this real fast. And then we're going to talk about, of course, that drone swarm that just happened in the Ukraine. Here's a picture real fast. I hope it comes up this time because I just tried to load it a minute ago and had to switch topics because it wasn't working. Oh, this is a calamity of a show. I don't know why these photos aren't coming up. God dang. What is happening here? Anyways, Winston Churchill standing next to a freaking drone in World War II. That's all I'm trying to bring up here, but if for some reason I cannot bring it up. I don't know what's happening to this. But anyways, in World War II, before World War II, Winston Churchill stands next to a drone. It's in the National Archive. You can look at the photo. It's a drone being launched off of a slingshot thing that is still being used today. In combat, they're using the same exact system. So if you can get that idea out of your head that drones are new just by simply looking at this photograph that I found a JPEG of it, that might work, then you'll know that what we see today is just the market thing. So what's best for the market sales. It's not actually the highest grade, most advanced technology, the most uniquely exotic engineered things with weird hulls, weird engines, weird systems on board. Race, can you pull that up real quick? Winston Churchill standing next to a freaking drone. There we go. And this thing is launched and it flies around on its own. And you know what? Some of these had better flight ranges than freaking modern day drones, which is crazy because of the capacity in the space on board. Now that just looks like a regular drone, but here's a key feature about this amazing thing. Okay, because this is a regular plane. But let me just say this. Notice right here, this plane lands on water. This is before World War II. They're putting together drones that are both flying in the air and they can land on the water like a boat. They're already one step away from transmedium craft, or as the Chinese call them, transmedia craft, before World War II. The sediment of the drone thing needs to die. For all the people that are tired of hearing about drones, I'm sorry, but we need to keep spreading the word that this is not a new technology. And just to go even further back real quick, because it just seems like it's going to be forgotten. Remember the famous words from Tesla. I put it on Twitter earlier. And I don't even remember them now. About his boat experiment when he ran his boat and people watched and believed they were controlling it with their shouts or their mind, and how UUVs have been on the market since Tesla when he was a young man, March 1917. What was it? Was it 1917? Oh my God, man. This is the worst. I'm never using this monitor again, this TV monitor. It's the worst. It blacks out right in the middle of the show. Give me 1 second, Recon. I apologize. This is whack. Jeez, come on. All right. I'm going to bring it over this one because it's not going to blink away. Tesla once said the world moves slowly and new truths are difficult to see. The world moves slowly and new truths are difficult to see. It's like people who were pitchforking a down balloon because they thought it was from hell or something back in the 1800s when people, or 1700s, when people were developing hot air balloons. They're doing it today. I can tell you they're doing it today. And I feel pretty confident saying that because of how many advancements we've seen in the drone world. But, of course, if you don't know the story, let me just read it to you real quick. It was his way of responding to the crowd's stunned disbelief upon his viewing his scientific wizardry at New York's Madison Square Garden in 1898. Okay, this is before the Wright brothers even flew. Using a small radio transmitting control box, he was able to maneuver a tiny ship about a pool of water and even flashed its running lights on and off, all without any visible connection between the boat and controller. Indeed, a few people at the time were aware that radio waves even existed, and Tesla, few people rather, even knew that radio waves existed. But in Tesla, an inventor often known to electrify the crowd with his creations, was publishing the boundaries. Was publishing his papers on the boundaries of electric studies, but his invention of this remote controlled vessel was absolutely stunning crowds, and it was way beyond what people would understand because it was essentially magical force that controlled it. Now, science wasn't brand new, of course. Obviously, the Industrial Revolution had already come to most parts of the world, the developed world, but it was a new breakthrough thing. So even in this is the problem with people that think, oh, well, that was a long time ago when they were still beating people over the head, thinking of the witches. No, even in the day of industrialization, when you can see engineering feats that you cannot believe, trains, things flying, blimps, controlled flight lighter than air sometimes, even others. Obviously, there's evidence for that. But there's all types of stuff, and they still would think of it as being demonic or angelic or from another world or from whatever. The people that would get out oftentimes referencing this book in the show. Please check out this book if you could, by Michael Busby, Solving the 1897 Airship Mystery by Michael Busby. He I hope he's well, but he's no longer answering my emails, and he was going to send his archive to David Marler. But he talks about people, bringing out water and going to expect to meet the angels, and instead it comes out an Italian guy, and just people will mistake it. When you look at things like the Nimitz incident, if it was flying in the way that it was said, and there is no cover story, there's nothing patriotic going on, it wasn't Project Nemesis, there's nothing else to cover up. I still don't doubt that, though. I wouldn't believe those pilots could properly identify a breakthrough, novel, and exotic piece of human engineering they've never seen before. I myself was a trained observer. Who in the military remembers nonstop looking at flashcards and silhouettes of vehicles and aircraft that you might encounter from foreign forces that you might see? Who remembers playing cards that had those on there? Who remembers early days when, if you couldn't get to a real range, they kept setting up these stupid smart ranges where you would go and practice and shoot like Soviet tanks and shit and stuff. Anyways, trained observers cannot be trained to observe something that does not require or does not follow the traditional routes of aerodynamics and things like that. There's stuff out there right now that when it's not under full power, it falls out of the sky. There's drones out there right now that do not have wing surfaces. There's drones out there that have wings and propellers, so they're very confusing as to why they can stay in the air for 10 times longer than their alternative that just has wings rather than wings and rotors. It's an insane combo in time. But anyway, I'm pretty sure the Nimitz lines up with something rather logical, and that would be not even Occam's razor, because when everyone's like, oh, what about Occam's razor? Listen, that would be a necessary choice and needed if a mystery was lacking a robust avenue a concrete avenue to walk down to get answers. And the fact of the matter is that we think what we have on the market today, like the F-35, is the apex of our technology. And that's simply not true. No engineer will tell you that. Even people that fly and train fighter pilots today speak of the F-35 as being more like a hacker's jet. You know, where like the AI is helping you solve the thing way more than the actual pilot. The F-16, if the F-35 was in close range, people have said that the F-16 or the F-18 Raptor can or Super Hornet rather, isn't it Super Hornet? I can't remember. But F-18 Super Hornet, I can't remember. But they said they could take them on rather easily because they're not really meant for that. We look at what we have today and just assume because corporations are using it that it must be the best product. Race and I were just talking about this not too long ago about how like we see other countries that literally look like an immaculate wonderland because they're actually putting money in their infrastructure. And you look at the United States and you're like, what the hell is this? Well, the military can be looked at in that exact way because I know I was in the infantry. I say it all the time to the Recon team. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. But if the infantry has it, someone else has had it, and it has been better for a lot longer. You know, it's simple as that. And so when I'm seeing people flying quadcopters in races, and the enthusiast can fly a drone in a way that is like insane, like a trick pilot or something. It's insane how they fly him. You don't think the military wants to take advantage of the same technology, if not better, larger, faster, and more destructive, more casualty producing? Who has more money for this? The military complex and all their customers around the world, or John, who likes to race VR headset on with a drone over at the YMCA on Sundays? What? Of course the military does. So when we look at things like the Nimitz in 2004, when there was more money than ever being chucked towards the military complex to make and find new things, and all these private industries like, look what bomb I've created for you today, dear army. Look what amazing drone I've created for you. And the military is like, yeah, we'd love that, but we don't even have an adversary that we could use that against. You think we're gonna buy your hypersonic reentry vehicle when no one else is against the Iraqis? What are they going to be shooting their AKs at a bump glider vehicle that can go around the world in an hour and 30 or something? They will not be. So there's no reason. But yet demonstrations took place. Things are purchased and shelved so this company doesn't take their product and then go give it to China. These things have to be considered when it comes to the Nimitz incident. But moving 20 years later, not talking about any type of hypothetical technology or capabilities we have with certain types of drones or aerospace stuff. We're talking specifically this time with, in the 2017 and on time frame, where all these individuals like Lou Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, Justice, Mellon, I'm naming some scary names. They got a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of, oh no. Guess what? I appreciate you raising awareness and trying to help the United States. I'm a big boy and I can say that. But I'm pretty upset that you use a bunch of UAVs like the one I showed earlier as a reason that aliens are haunting and attacking us. We got to get ready for them. And unfortunately, the other evidence to back that up is something I want to talk about today, but I'll spare you that. And let's just say this, that if you're not aware, everyone listening to the NX Net right now, guess what? The sailors themselves are not being spoken for appropriately. They mark down in the logbooks UAS, unmanned aerial system, quadcopter, drone. Then ufologists, especially non-ufologists, but contributors in a big way, like pilots that have nothing to do with the scenario. I don't know where they even came from, or people like Sean Cahill. Never saw these things. Has nothing to do with the Nimitz incident or any of these other newer incidences, but they're there telling us that it's definitely alien and not ours. And guess what? These service members who actually serve their country and believe they're doing U.S. service right now, but being on guard all the time out there in the sea or whatever, their voices are being shut up, you. No one wants to hear from the service member. Jeremy Corbell's got great pyramid videos from this one service member that he can't tell you who, but believe him, it's real. The real service members, if they see aliens, they'll let us know. But you know what they're really dealing with? in my opinion, a psychopathic nation that has unlimited potential to lease drones and electronic countermeasures in a way that the United States hasn't appropriately prepared for. And if they have, they've done so in secret, which is scary. The Chinese employ phishing militias to follow our Navy around and send drones like the one I showed you a little while ago to steal information from our Navy. Everything from their standard operating procedures and how they react, obviously, to their tech signatures, where their radar reaches, to visual observations, where they have stuff on the flight deck. You know, what systems are on board? Are they running lights on? Are they running dark? You know, how many aircraft are on board? How many people are on? You know, all that stuff. They're taking it all when they're there. And because for some reason the intelligence community joining in with ufology and contributing that way is trying to push so opposite, people really refuse to believe that's the case. But you have to remember that we're seeing it unfold right before our eyes now in a war zone. And no offense, I hope everyone stays alive. And we really wish the war was over, but you know, we're seeing something that could be happening to us right now on our home front, because that's how close some of these systems are to basically being like, well, we've purchased so many, they're taking our resources now if we want to keep producing them. So what are we going to do? We're going to fight over Taiwan. The United States doesn't want to fight over Taiwan, allegedly, but I think they kind of do. Either way, though, the Ukraine, you can look in there, and we just watched a drone swarm attack that the United States Army has been broadcasting they've been training for, but we just watched it happen to the Russian naval fleet stationed or moving outside of that large Crimean Bay. What is it called? Sevastopol. I can't remember the name of it. And we got the videos for it and everything. I can't show them here on the show because that's disturbing. I would never do that. I'm not into that. But I will say that the drone swarming stuff is real. One of the first things I noted was Lord Ludacris, who's in the YouTube chat right now. Thank you so much. Is an article from the War Zone that specifically discussed finding one of these things almost identical to some of them being used. They found them washed up on shore, something we talk about frequently on Recon, not to be confused with the aliens or interdimensional time travelers or anything, which I still believe is out there. But the intelligence community has come to us, and for some reason taken that. They have launched many of these things on their shores, and it's regular drones, whatever, experimental stuff. Sorry I said that. I just see the YouTube chat there. But Lord Ludacris sent me the article, and they used them on the drone fleet, like I'm trying to say, in the Black Sea. 9 drones were used. And if you can imagine this, imagine a giant centralized vessel. This is why drones are so scary and important for the military and for the rest of the world, and why they're telling you aliens are here threatening us. I think aliens are here, folks. I got to say it again. I just don't think that, I mean, maybe they are hurting people. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just saying they're not stalking and haunting our Navy, and they don't look Chinese. Okay. Anyways, let's use my lighter here. Here's a giant Navy ship from Russia or us floating through the ocean. From this ship, thousands of systems in place. Electric systems connected all over the place, jets out there, recon, flights going around, scanning surveillance, and all of a sudden, someone destroys this ship. A third of the entire battlefield essentially taken out of play because they centralized all the stuff on this ship. In 2022, the idea after watching Ukraine is to no longer do that. You don't want to centralize anything anymore. You want to split it up, and so 50 drones make up the computer rather than one big ship that has the computer on it. And we see this firsthand now. Why? Because guess what? The Russian fleet has lost another. I mean, just imagine the money put into this thing. It will be raised eventually, I'm sure. It will be repaired eventually, I'm sure. But 8 drones going all around while the Russian ship sends out helicopter and is blasting the water. They have nothing to stop it. These are tiny little boats coming at it from all directions, and they are gnarly fast for their size, really hard to see. And guess what? The engine is so small, you have to shoot it a lot, specifically in the engine, which is not easy to do. No one wants to get close to it, because if you shoot it while you're too close to it and it blows up, you're dead. So it's become real insane. I'm trying to bring this phone up, and I don't know if this one's going to work either. The United States uses them as well. Now, without going any further into that, I'll just say that the drones made it to the ship and blew the Russian ship up, and it's done. They could not be shot and killed because you're not shooting a human. You're shooting a freaking killer robot that doesn't feel pain. You have to destroy one whole part of its hardware that really interprets a lot of its functions or something, or receiving information to stop it. This is the movies. As much as I hate to say it, you know, it's looking a lot like Johnny Five. No. Short Circuit, Johnny Five. Anyone? Come on, get the jokes here. I'm hearing no laughs in the audience. Anyways, there was an unfortunate event where the Russians sailed to the Black Sea and got destroyed.
I loved Short Circuit. I love that movie.
Well, Johnny Five has been weaponized.
Yanni 5.
Yanni. Here's a picture of a boat that the Chinese caught us using, stealing their text signatures a few years ago. Now, this is a subsurface UUV drone, all right? So if a soldier sees this and reports it, you have to think of the context, okay? You have to think of the context. A sailor sees this, right? They say, I saw this weird shape go through the water. Weird looking, had a square top, but you could see inside. It looked strange. I don't know what it was. Who made it, who sent it, anywhere. You got to watch out that the ufologists don't grab that and say, well, USO, blah, blah, blah. We've got these things everywhere. And, yeah, that's right, Lord Ludicrous in the chat. Von Locos kick your face. Von Locos kick your bones into outer space. He stole a bunch of radios. Johnny Five. Sorry, Johnny Five reference. Yeah, all these drones have very low cross sections as well. The movement of the drone boats was wild, bobbing and weaving. When you watch the video, I suggest you watch it just so you understand what people are dealing with and why we've invested billions of dollars, billions and billions and billions into this Goliath of a military of the Western world, the UK, even Australia, all of us together, Israel, all of us. We've turned into this massive force, right? But that's exactly what you don't want to be in 2023. You want to shrink your profile down. In fact, we've been hearing Lou Elizondo talking a lot about shrinking profile down for, 5 years. It's called signature reduction. The United States has done the opposite of signature reduction on what it sold the army and military. So all the jets you see, the helicopters and the boats, you're like, this is the most badass stuff in the world. We're the best military in the world. That's like loud tractor equipment compared to what we could have. And in the fact of the matter is that it's never too late to change that, but we got to do something. We got to do something about the countermeasures. And this boat right here is just one of many you might see, and you have to keep your eye out for it. I hate to play wet blanket in ufology in this case, talking about UUVs and drones and stuff, but when someone tries to tell you that something hovered silently or swam past them silently or went underneath their boat silently, silent is the whole thing. Electric has been around in these drones since 78-ish. I truly believe that we have been working on signature reduction. DARPA, look at the history of DARPA. DARPA signature reduction goes back to the early Korean War. We have been working on the strangest ways to silence stuff and to shrink its signature on all of our enemies' equipment, and then trick their equipment for so long that it's impossible. Race, what do you got? I can't hear you. You're muted.
I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on that Puerto Rican UFO UAP video.
Which one's that? The one the Homeland is it Homeland Security or is it someone recorded it going around and heading into the water?
Mm-hmm. Came in and out of the water, and yeah.
I forget. I do remember that when I initially saw that, I think there's an optical illusion happening when it quote unquote goes into the water without making any effect. I do think that might be something with a camera, but then again, I haven't looked into enough. I know that Mick West thinks he's debunked it. I have not looked through his debunking yet, but it was interesting. And again, I have seen things on video recently that actually looked relatively like that.
I honestly think that it's a Navy. It's Navy tech.
There's a video from India that I wish I could find. If people out there in the NX network or the Recon channel can find it, it's a video of these students in India and this weird. It looks like a robot holding balloons, for God's sakes. It literally looks like a robot holding balloons, and it's all light, and it whips just like that video, and it goes. It literally disappears when it gets to the mountain. Goes right to the mountain, disappears, and it landed right near them. They thought they were going to find a parachute with this like rock'em sock'em robot thing, and there was nothing there. And that's what I'm talking about. The real mystery is. I like that stuff because when people push the drones down my throat for so long, and I have to clap, that drones are aliens, I have to clap back. But honestly, it's those videos. And yes, this one, Aguadil, that's the one she says right there. Paradigm theories. Thank you. When someone puts up videos like that, you could tell it's there's something more to it we should be looking into, and it's really not as easy as a drone going in the water, because even though we have those, I don't think it would go in the water smooth. I think it would make a big ruckus, and you'd see it go in, you'd hit it, splash.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Jeff, because you still know that there are anomalous objects out there that aren't ours and aren't theirs. There's something else. And but 98% of the stuff that we're all talking about, I think it comes from right here at home. I'll jump out and let you finish the show.
Well, thank you, Race. I appreciate your words there. That's it. There is there's definitely I've just seen too many weird things that are just, in my opinion, are not even physical looking, and some very physical. But and that's what's brought me here and talking about the paranormal for so long. And man, this thing is so noisy, and I'm fascinated to keep on the edge of my seat for all that stuff. But it keeps me hard at work when I see good people that just that haven't been informed on it or interested in the drone side, because I don't think it's connected. But the fact of the matter is that very quiet, hovering, long range, beyond line of sight drones have been in production for a long time, longer than we know. Excuse me. And I want to be clear that this whole movement that Lou Elizondo and that email that I read earlier that we've gone through, because I do believe it's a movement, is deeply linked with FAA policy, because the term BLOS is found right there in that article about those drones attacking that ship. Isn't that interesting? Because they were very confused. Hey, wait a second. These drones only have 130-mile range, and yet there's no one around that could have been operating them. Could they have been from a freaking an aircraft above? Could they have been somewhere else? They don't know. And it's very interesting to see that FAA policy is about to change soon when it comes to beyond line of sight drones, because like I say on the show quite often, you think Amazon wants to keep paying truck drivers and following the roads? Like, you can drop a package off and just fly over that mountain range, but you got to go all the way around, running up in trucking. We don't do anything, can't be done. We got a long way to go, a short time to get there. A drone done take our job today. That's unfortunate what the future is. So you have a lot of people, especially I find to be very interesting, Congressman Tim Burchett, constantly pushing, one of these things will crash into a vehicle. One of these things is going to crash into an aircraft. Our aircrafts are flying around, and one of these UAP are going to crash into them, he says all the time. Well, what do you know? Mr. Burchett is on a subcommittee for transportation. Transportation covers the word. Can you imagine you being in office at a time where something like, I don't know, think of the last time where all these factories in America shut down because we've had automation. Every job is being taken. Don't for a second think that something is special like 18-wheelers. It's not. Every job is being taken. And unfortunately, a lot of dangers come in with that. But again, that's something we have to solve together as humans. And I think, in my personal opinion, before I got to go, but my personal opinion is solving that problem might prepare us for something that we have no idea what it's, what is first contact with aliens going to look like. I'd be more comfortable with the systems on board that could fry a threat out of the sky in a second if it need be, though I don't think they're going to be a threat. I just mean in general. Yeah, think of the Vault, think of Skyfort. They're going to go, man. Think of all these companies that suddenly popped up to gather information and to assist the FAA on UAP interactions and stuff. Very interesting. They've been working on it for a while. All I have to say is, Recon, look for things how they actually are versus how they appear to be. Keep it weird to keep your third eye peeled, and stay tuned for Jimmy Church up next right here on the X.